Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of TFT Hyper Roll with Artark, and this is one I guess I'm going to get to do every season, I hope. It's going to come with a backstory that leads into what this build actually is. But before we do that, I gotta ask for the obligatory like, comment, subscribe to help the YouTube algorithm. And you know, the only reason we do that, and everyone seems to do that, is because when we don't, people don't. And it becomes pretty obvious on the back end when you see it. So yeah, sorry, it's just something we gotta do. But, okay, let's get into this. So this build actually begins with another game. Let's go over to that one. So what is special about this game? Well, yeah. The designer of the game is in a hyper roll match with me, which I don't understand because I thought they were getting rid of it, but there he is. Now, much like what happened last season when this happened, I didn't play the match so much as watch what the designer of the game was doing, because they know it better than me, and I thought their build was really interesting and not one I had seen before. So I watched it through to the end and decided I was going to replicate it. And you are seeing a piece of it here, but what I ended up doing was pretty much the same thing, and you will see it played out. So a quick thank you to Mortdog for the unintended lesson. Now I'm going to be following it as closely as possible, but I couldn't get it exactly. I would have needed a specific augment. He was using the artifact augment from Ezreal. Normally I'd grab Call the Meek, but it didn't really fit what I wanted to do. I was hoping for something different. Soul Eater is pretty good. It's like having Thrill of the Hunt on your team, only it applies to the entire team. So every time there's a takedown, everyone gains 300 health back. But the main goal of this build is to move into Defender and Gageteen. I haven't seen Defender use that much because there's so much magic attack in this set. I find Aegis much more common, but it really worked when I saw it, so time to try it out. Now the three Gageteen champions I'm after are Lulu, Poppy, and Zoe to start, and then we're going to ultimately flip Lulu out for Nunu way down the line. For defenders, I'm ultimately looking for Poppy, WuKong, Riven, and Sett. For items, my most important one is going to be blue buff, which is going to go on Zoe once I'm able to get her, and then hopefully a Morellonomicon as well. As you can see, the Nasus Soul Eater is actually quite a useful augment and sort of gets stronger later as you have more champions because it can save you from death. The only problem is that 300 is not a ton of health to heal, but it will usually keep you in the match a lot longer than you expected. And I find it funny that I hadn't considered defenders before, and I'm now noticing, wow, I am facing a lot of AD early on. It just seems to be the AP comps that make it to the end, with champions like Misfortune and Talia being the real cleanup artists in the game. Now the other part of this build is to turn WuKong into a major tank, and you'll see how that all works out later on. So for here, I'm going to grab the Negatron Cloak with thoughts of putting a Dragon's Claw onto WuKong. And I'll summarize the general chat for you, but we're basically discussing hero augments, and there seems to be a general dissatisfaction with hero augments as part of this system, that people feel it either pigeonholes the concept or some are just way too strong, and as I've said a million times, it can make or break a game. In our case, you can see that Soul Eater is really keeping us in these matches. It's time for our second set of augments, and because we rolled the first one, we are stuck with whatever we get here. And Defender Crest is probably the best because we are going Defender, and while I already have the 4 picked out that I want, turning Nasus into a Defender certainly can't hurt at this point. Just a couple of rolls later, we are able to get our gold 3-star WuKong, and that is going to be key for later in the match. And as I mentioned with the Soul Eater augment, it's really good early, and it is good later because it can go across a bunch of champions, but 300 just doesn't mean that much when you start dealing with 3-star champs. You can see the bonus 300 health barely impacts WuKong at all because his general health pool is so high. For our next item, I was really hoping for a needlessly large rod, so I'd have the makings of the Morellonomicon for if and when I get a Zoe, because she is going to be a huge key to this build. At this point, I just grabbed the BF sword. That gives me the ability to make 2 Spears of Sojin later on if I want, or I can move into a lot of different things like Giant Slayer. At this point, we are really stuck waiting on Zoe to give us real power. The 4 defenders is giving us a fairly strong front line, but with champions like Yasuo, who are AP-based champions, getting into the back line, it is not helping us out very much and causing us to lose more than I would like. Now, of course, it does help brilliantly with any AD-based comp, so if you're relying on Vayne or Ashe or someone like that to really do all your damage, it's going to be hard, and you can see she is just beating on WuKong but not making much progress. The NPC round gave us Zoe and the needlessly large rod. I planned on Sunfire board, but then remembered that wouldn't stack with Morellonomicon, so that literally left Second Wind as the only realistic option we had left. If I had grabbed Sunfire board, the Morellonomicon would do absolutely no good in Zoe's hands. I was really hoping for a lot more tank items, but I'm just not getting them, so I grabbed the Sparring Glove so I can put a Hand of Justice onto WuKong and then give him the Gageteen item that I'm getting, and we'll figure out the rest as we go along. And as you will see again here, while Defender works well against the AD champs, the AP champs, not so much, as Viego is just able to stomp his entire way through our team. Now, I finally 2-starred the Zoe and decided to put a Giant Slayer on her just in time to meet a Super Mech Jax. That's pretty fortuitous. Also, as you can see, Defender is a pretty good counter to this, as Jax, despite all the power, is just kind of hopelessly beating on our champions while Zoe ultimately takes him down. So I have put an Echo into the match as both Prankster and a little bit of Aegis. I'm going to grab the Hand of Justice here, and then also open the Anvil and grab the Jeweled Gauntlet. This is going to be for Nunu, who is going to replace Annie as the 3rd Gageteen. When I get something like the Gageteen Warmogs, I'm going to put that onto Nunu, and otherwise just more AP power and a little bit of healing so that he can wander around the map, because he is going to be getting the Defender buff since that is team-wide. And while I was initially having some doubts about Mortdog's system, now that I'm seeing the entire part of it, I see how it all works together. The Defender buff is helping Nunu to maintain himself, which is allowing him to put out a ton of damage, and Zoe just keeps pouring out damage from the corner, and you will see from the damage chart, it's the 2 of them leading the team. What is also making Defenders really work well with this comp is they are taunting that front line away from Nunu, so he is able to get in and out without being harassed, which allows him to just gather more power and do more damage. And with that victory, much to my surprise, we are into the top 4, and I'm now looking for one final champion to fill this out. 2 more items left, and I have 2 goals. 1, more power on Nunu. 2, more tank on WuKong. So Jeweled Gauntlet can be more power on Nunu. Gargoyle Stoneplate can be more tank on WuKong. I still need 1 champion left to pull this off, and that's going to be Leona. She is going to be the key because she is going to give me some Aegis, which will allow me to survive some magic attack, and also she will be the 3rd Mecha Prime, which will then allow me to turn WuKong into an absolute tank monster. Right now, against an AD-focused team like this, you can see how this comp works so well. Number 1, the front line is just getting focused. Number 2, we are very resistant to their damage. Nunu is able to just keep on rolling over the team and weakening them down. Zoe just sets them on fire with a Morellonomicon, and we're going to end up with a gold Zoe right after this match, because there she is. But now we need Leona. So it is time to send a text to Gary and say, look, you helped Mortdog in his match, time to help me out. Thank you. We can now create WuKong as the Mecha Prime, but we're still going to get the Defender and Aegis bonus from Leona and Sett. And this is now nearly identical to what Mortdog had put together. The difference is our augment. He had the Ezreal augment that gave an artifact. I ended up with Soul Eater. If I had Ezreal in the back, he would be throwing an artifact over to Zoe, and I likely wouldn't have thrown the additional Giant Slayer on, but you can see how this all works. The defenders taunt the front line. Once you can get WuKong into a Mecha Prime, he is very, very hard to take down, and Nunu just keeps on rolling. This is just a brilliant use of Defender, Super Mech, and Prankster, and it is really, really strong if you can pull it together. I'm glad I got into that game with Mortdog so I can see it done. This person decided, nope, they knew which way this was going, and so it is time to just leave the match right about here. And so it was over. If you happen to see Mortdog in a match, thank him for the build. It is fantastic. Hope you get a chance to do it. I recommend it. And as always, have an absolutely, absolutely awesome day.